Hello and welcome back to Digital Assets Daily. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in your corner of the world. How Ripple is taking over the U.S. XRP was only second to Bitcoin in terms of U.S. search last year. Ripple is still a long way behind Bitcoin. According to Google Trends last year, the number of United States users that searched for the term how to buy Ripple was a lot more than the number of people that were asking how to buy Bitcoin. The main thing that this shows us is that Ripple is gaining a lot more traction than we previously thought when it comes to mainstream adoption. Even so, Google users interested in cryptocurrency from outside the US search more frequently for information in regards taking up a position in the current number one digital asset by market capitalization than they did for buying XRP. With all this in mind, the term Bitcoin outperformed XRP on both a global scale and in the US. So maybe the long-awaited flipping that XRP enthusiasts are looking forward to might have to wait a little bit longer. And we've seen delay after delay after delay. It's not a big deal. It will be coming very soon. So it seems that only a matter of time before the famous payment protocol replaces Bitcoin and becomes the leading digital asset by market cap. And granted, this might be a stretch, but those who are part of the dedicated community for XRP, they have been denouncing Bitcoin as an outdated technology. For the Ripple community, Bitcoin is old and weary when you compare it to its rivals. Based on the potentially increased utility, many more transactions per second provide large numbers of folks are banking on XRP, one day outperforming Bitcoin in terms of market cap. Even though XRP is somewhat controversial currency, is still a long way behind Bitcoin in terms of total size of market. There's one factor that Ripple seems to be outperforming BTC on, though, and that is Google. A former engineer at Coinbase, Preethi Kazareddy, took to Twitter to highlight some of the Google trends of 2018. And there on the screen, you have it as it finishes off that article. My thoughts on this. I think the bad thing for anyone is to be a maximalist because they're blinded and missing all of the details and the facts. Whether you're a Bitcoin maximalist or XRP maximalist, a lot of things that are actually attributed to something else are getting the credit that another digital asset deserves. And as you remember what Brad Garlinghouse has stated, it will take many of them, and much of them will be working together, and there will be many acquisitions along the way, as they've already begun to do. Heads of Binance US, Ledger, and Zcoin speak to impact of digital dollar on industry. We'll go into some of this here. Trying to think, some of these words I cannot say. So let's get into the technical limitations of current proposals. Part of the problem with the digital dollar as proposed in some draft versions of the currently circulating stimulus bill is that it would operate strictly via the current financial system monitored by the Federal Reserve, Coley explained. They would be using the existing rails, and one part that we face is the existing rails oftentimes neglect those that may not have bank accounts or may not be able to go and visit their brick and mortar bank in times like these crises. Moreover, if the United States is looking to implement a CBDC based on the blockchain, it may face infrastructural hurdles that is not yet prepared for. Gauthier illustrated a major difference in the way that Bitcoin's network security grew and how a hypothetical blockchain-based dollar would develop. The infrastructure question in general for crypto assets is a very interesting one. And if you see the evolution of Bitcoin in 2008 is one guy, and then two guys, three guys, etc. So you got concentric circles of more people joining in every year, he continued. What's going to be interesting with the crypto dollar is it's more of a top-down experience. Suddenly you have trillions of assets that are in the crypto dollar, and security will be paramount from day one. And so the type of infrastructure that you need to implement from day one to support that is going to be a challenge for sure. Coley, who recently wrote an op-ed promoting the use of stablecoins to distribute aid, was skeptical as the Fed's ability to implement such a massive initiative at once. Given the limited exposure to the technology up till now, it makes us aware in the United States that we're not there yet at the same level of adoption that the rest of the world is already eager for. This digital dollar idea seems to be a knee-jerk response. The allure is simple: to have direct access to citizens with minimum red tape and the ability to provide digital dollars, or to provide dollars to the people, including the unbanked, said Ruben Yap, COO for privacy token Zcoin. While I do think that there is a benefit in empowering the unbanked, much more detail needs to be fleshed out. This is not something we can rush through. My thought in this article, this statement is, we know XRP and Stellar through IBM have been working with the central banks for many years. I mean, even back into 2015, we've shown that they've been working together. So this isn't like a knee-jerk thing. I disagree with that statement. I believe that they are ready, and it's just the regulations that's holding this down. Hopefully within all of this crises, I guess is a safe word to say, that is going on, hopefully they speed up the regulation as they are speeding up everything else. An additional thought too with this, I don't need to go any more into that article. Let's move on to the next one. The Hyperledger fast-tracks dev of Ethereum-based Ethaler as U.S. central bank digital dollar. Kind of to finish off my other thought, it connects more with this statement. So that's why we kind of moved forward. As we've shown in research for the past almost 6 months, the central banks mostly connecting back using a handful of the digital assets and currencies, but it's still connected back to Stellar through IBM, XRP through Corda, and it connected back to Ethereum. We've noticed that XRP, or I should say more so, Ripple has been partnering up with Ethereum. A lot of speculation in that is because they were saying because of the smart contracts, but Stellar we know already has its own. I think the separation of the two would be that Stellar is nonprofit and it can do everything both of them can do together, whereas those are for profit and focused on a different lane. And again and again and again we say they're not competition, and we've shown that many times over. But let's get into the article just a little bit. Let's see. Skip that because we'll get it right into this point. At a planned meeting at Hyperledger, a blockchain consortium, it was decided to accelerate its efforts in the development of Ethaler, an Ethereum-based project aiming to create a CBDC. While the need for a CBDC has only been a priority to a small number of governments, the issue at hand is setting a new stage for governments to become more blockchain friendly, and the U.S. is becoming the latest superpower to join the race. In February, the clear use of CBDC started to show as California Congresswoman and chair of the House Financial Services Committee, Maxine Waters, introduced the concept of a digital dollar, firing the accelerated development of Hyperledger's Ethaler. Vipin Barathan, 59, the chair of the Hyperledger Identity Working Group, said, "The concept of the CBDC seems to have gotten an imprimatur." I know I'm just said that wrong, totally blanking. From the House Finance Committee, that's a significant step, and I agree that such crisis situations always produce new ideas and acceptance of new ideas, which will live on long after the issue at hand has burned through the world. Next, the development of the Ethaler CBDC project. Over the past 6 months, the developers across the world have kept working on open source projects. Professionals from Accenture and Infosys and the Itaú Bank of Brazil, or in Brazil, leading the charge. The token follows the ERC 1125 standard, which differs from the conventional ERC 20 token standards. By providing a single standard designed to support multiple kinds of tokens, the token is expected to be fungible, mintable, and destroyable through a burning process similar to Binance Coin BNB structure. Notwithstanding, the CBDC is expected to be highly divisible to allow micropayments across the system, a feature currently unavailable with fiat currency. Lastly, and perhaps the most controversially, the asset must be pausable in case of a bug in the software is discovered or an update is being implemented. And my thoughts on that connect back to the Hyperledger. We know Hyperledger was running the system on Stellar. Then it expanded to a system with Ripple, and now it is expanding a system with Ethereum, kind of supporting our research. So we'll see. It's going to be exciting to see what happens between now and the end of the year for 2020. Another article, the new bill to stimulate the economy removes the digital dollar term hours after the draft is issued. But again, I think that point is almost irrelevant. The fact that they even stated it and tried to add it is already more than enough as an investor to see what is happening and reassure you as an investor that this is happening and that it is not going anywhere. It is here permanently. I will say we do know that the bill was added and then removed. There was another statement that it was hidden near the end and re-added back. So we'll see where this goes. One thing I wanted to bring up with this bill is let's get into the $1,500 per person. I believe it was changed to $1,200. The dollars are irrelevant. The point of this is the latest draft of the bill has 1,404 pages and says that U.S. residents are eligible to receive the sum of $1,500 per person. However, people who make more than $75,000 a year and couples who have a joint income of over $150,000 a year need to pay back the money they will get. In the section that details payments from page 1090, doesn't specify how the payments will be made. A lot of this is coming out in different places. I have no idea the factual side of this, but just be aware. I've seen people point this out into the SBA loans that were also stated, that there's possibly an 8-week SBA loan for small businesses, but if you do not fire anyone or let anyone go, that the loan becomes a what do they call it? A loan becomes a grant, and that there's no need to pay it back. So we'll see what's going to come out of this. Obviously, as we get closer, I know the bill's passed, but there's a little trickiness to that if it is true and accurate, and so that if you're getting these loans, that they were shutting you down, mandatory, you have no choice, no option. Now basically they're giving you the money, not really a whole lot of choice to that either, as they're going to be depositing directly into your accounts. And then if they mandatory close you down, where you would have made the money on your normal salary, now forcing you to take it, then force you to pay it back, that would be a little bit sneaky, I would say, as a nice wording for that. So just be careful out there, pay attention to these things. Typically nothing is for free, so we'll see where this goes. I want to finish off this video with a thought. It takes nothing to join the crowd, and it takes everything to stand alone. Again, guys, this is not financial advice. It's for entertainment purposes only, and we'll catch you in the next one.